news channel, and welcome to my Saturday night special live broadcast. I think I'm going to have these every Saturday night. So I'll have two live streams on Saturday. By the way, we're going to talk about alien abductions. Are you a victim? And I'm going to tell you a personal story. So, anyway, we'll see how it goes. Uh, if you're looking for, I got to talk for about 3 minutes for people to show up in the chat. So if you want to fast forward about 3 minutes, we'll start to 3 minutes in. Then we start talking about the content. Just got to give YouTube a while to send out notifications that people start showing up before I start talking about the subject. So they don't come into the movie late, you might say. But it's going to be interesting, and you'll like my story, I have to say. And like I said, I tried it before, so there's a couple reasons I'm doing this video. Anyway, hope everybody's having a great Memorial Day weekend. Here, we're getting some very needed rain, but I wish we'd get some warm weather with it, but we're getting the cold weather still, where it doesn't even get in the 60s during the day. It's been a really cool spring, dry spring, and now we're getting the moisture, so hopefully everybody's lawn will be nice and green in a week, and everybody will be complaining because they got to mow their yard. Me personally, I can't wait to mow my yard. But yeah, it was a dry winter and dry spring. It's nice to see the rainfall again. So, but that's the Memorial Day weekend we're having. Hopefully one of these nights, on Saturday nights, the Saturday Night Live would be nice, my Saturday night special, if I could do it outside by a campfire, if the weather would cooperate. That'd be completely awesome once. But so far, definitely for a few months, it hasn't been that way. But anyway, let's get to the subject. We're getting a couple minutes into it. I see some people are showing up. So let's get into the subject. Also, if you like this content, like and subscribe, please, and share the content, and check out the rest of the channel. See what else it has to offer. Anyway, let's get into the subject. Alien abductions. Are you a victim? And I'm going to go into some of my personal stories, you might say, about it. And the one thing about this live stream, I have tried to do this twice on YouTube. And both times, YouTube has shut this live stream down. I'm going to try to tell the same story. And YouTube has shut the live stream down. Said, you are finished, like it never happened. So I'm going to see if I can tell the story tonight on this type of live stream setup. See if they cut me off again. So if it happens to go blank, it's because YouTube cut me off. And I guarantee you, when you make comments tonight, Google will be on this live stream, and they'll have their moderators here deleting comments if necessary. Anyway, let's get into the subject of alien abductions. We've all had stories through our lives, especially when you get older, of strange things you see, experience, stuff like that. My brother actually just texted me this morning, and we're both in our late 50s, and he texted me, remember that time we were ice skating down in the drainage ditch and we heard that ice crack and that loud roar? I text him back, I said, I remember it vividly. And I also remember running back to our home, the farm site, a quarter mile through the field in our ice skates, okay? I remember we heard the noise and we both jumped to the snowbank like cats clinging to a tree. We looked at each other and we just took off running. It was crazy. But anyway, we're not here to talk about that story. But stuff that happens through your life and stuff. Stuff that may not be explainable by normal means. But it doesn't mean it didn't happen. But anyway, like I said, I've tried to give this live stream a couple times on YouTube, and they keep shutting it down. I don't know why. Makes me almost think that I'm not crazy and what I suspect may be happening. But alien abductions, there's been a lot of alien stuff come out through many years. It happened before Roswell, and you had the Foo Fighters during World War II, the lights that would follow the bombing fleets at night and stuff, and during the day that they thought were German secret aircraft and stuff like that. But Jackie Kelly, were you adopted? Yeah, I'm gonna get. Oh, let's start the story. Okay, when I was a little kid, things happen to you when you're a child that you can't explain and you don't think about. But yeah, I had things happen to me as a child. Now, one of my memories as a child is we lived out in a farm in Minnesota, okay, and there was, not a lot of people there. And I'm walking down the gravel road. I'm like 6 years old, and I see this. See, at 6 years old, this is what I thought. I thought it was a 747 flying really low and slow, and I'm waving to the people in the windows. Okay, obviously, I know as an adult that's impossible. But as a child, I vividly remember that and seeing the people in the windows and waving to them. But, a 6-year-old rationale isn't going to be thinking UFOs and stuff. And there's also another thing that I vividly remember as a child. Now, everybody has heard the Roswell story and Jesse Marcel's, and when he took the box of stuff to home before he took it to the base, and Jesse Marcel Jr. talked about playing with this metal, this liquid metal that, he's just fascinated with. I remember an instance like that when I was a kid. Okay, I remember given this, what I thought was a toy at the time. I don't know where I was or nothing, but I know it was given to me to like calm me down, to settle me down, to what you do to preoccupy a child. And I just remember playing with it. It's the coolest thing. It was like silver, shinier than aluminum, but it was just this metal that wasn't like Play-Doh. It did come apart, but it just like stayed together. It's just weird. The weirdest thing I ever played with. I thought it was just so cool. And I remember going to the toy stores when I was a kid and asking my mom, hey, telling her about this toy that I play with, and I was always looking for it, could never find it. She'd always tell me I was crazy. Okay. And then as a kid too, when we'd have sightings at the house, and every once in a while, a few times fighter jets would come from the west, flying east, low and fast over our place when we'd see this type of weird stuff. Okay? And the thing about it, where we lived in Minnesota, the fighters would have had to come from, especially if they're coming from the west, would have had to come like from Minot Air Force Base, something like that. But when you're in the 70s, especially when you live in small town rural Minnesota on a farm and you have 2 fighter jets that fly over every once in a while, and they rattle the house, believe me. Just strange stuff. But as a kid, you don't put 2 and 2 together. It's like, oh, that's cool. And all of a sudden, you forget what you just saw. Okay. And then through my teenage years, I don't really have much interaction that I remember. I don't think aliens like dealing with teenagers either. Would surprise me a bit. But anyway, now let's jump forward to, hi, how's it going? Cover up by government. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. YouTube, I tried doing this video twice live on YouTube and they've cut it. They cut it after 20 minutes saying, boom, finish, like the video never happened. I didn't get a strike or nothing. They just took it down like the video never happened. Okay, but let's fast forward now into my early 20s when I'm in the Marine Corps, okay? And I was, when this first situation happened, I was actually in my 6th year in the Marine Corps. I was in the air wing at the time instead of the ground side. I had a technical job and stuff. Anyway, I was stationed out at Whidbey Island in Washington State. And they have all these old turn-of-the-century forts there that were used to defend the coast and stuff. And one of them was Fort Casey. That's where Officer and a Gentleman was filmed. I have other stories about that movie and stuff, but anyway, and then they had Fort Eby, and I'd run at Fort Eby because it was Fort Casey still had the barracks there and stuff. It was like a tourist place. People would fly their kites. But Fort Eby was more isolated, desolated, and they had the hiking trails. People went there to run. It wasn't a gathering place. It was just, where people exercised and enjoyed the coast and watched the whales migrate and stuff like that. It was cool. But anyway, I get done with my run, right? Get in my truck, start leaving the park. And when you leave the park, you got to turn down this park road that goes to the secondary road that goes out of the park. Well, anyway, I'm driving down turn on this park road, which I've traveled many times. And I look down towards the end of the road, which is a few hundred yards, and I think what I see is an alien in the ditch. I'm going towards it, and all of a sudden, I get terrified. Okay, I'm in the Marine Corps. I was on the ground side and stuff. I think I'm a pretty brave individual. And I got terrified. And I started sweating profusely. I started breathing heavy. And I keep driving. I don't stop or nothing. And as I get closer to it, I recognize that it's a Hilux bottle that the bottom's cut out and it's hanging on the barbed wire fence that marked that the barbed wire fence is there. And I felt silly. For one thing, I'm like, I didn't watch alien abduction shows it wasn't a thing for me at that time, right? And I felt really silly. I felt, I don't want to say violated, but I felt compromised because I had never felt terror like that before. The extreme terror I felt when I thought I saw a little green gray dude standing in the ditch was unbelievable. Okay, and I was what, 22 then, maybe? I was competent. I had a security clearance in the military. I had a sound mind and body. It really bothered me, especially the feeling of terror that I felt. That was the most uncomfortable thing I had ever felt. It was bad. So anyway, let's fast forward to when I first get out of the service. I start having these, and I've always lived in more of an isolated situation. I'm not a very big fan of people, but I was having troubles with I was getting dizzy. I had to, it's not like I was having medical issues in a way. I mean, they did MRIs, CAT scan of my whole body, and so I had good medical insurance at the time. And I remember having a migraine for 10 days that actually they put me in the hospital for. And the doctor was coming into me and said, we really can't find nothing wrong, but there seems to be something wrong with you. And they started thinking it was mental and stuff. And I said, no, I'm just a normal person. Well, anyway, those were the issues I was having when I first got out of service. It's just like, I don't know. I don't know if this changed from civilian world to the military to the civilian world. We really didn't want to go or what it was, but I was really, feeling strange upstairs with the misbalance and it's like, I don't know. It was just a weird feeling. But anyway, get back to another part of the story, okay? And then after this is when I started looking into alien abductions and missing time. Oh, another thing that happened in the Marine Corps, I had missing time for a while. I was driving from Virginia into North Carolina, I think with Interstate 77. It was at night, and I was coming down the mountain, obviously, and stuff. And the last about 20 miles of Virginia, I don't remember. And I remember coming to, if you want to call it that, in my car, parked at this rest area. And I had no idea where I was at. And I kind of sat there for a minute, tried to recollecting how I got there. Because I'm driving by myself at night down a mountain, okay? And I guess if I would have had sleep hypnosis or whatever, that's possible, then why would I wake up when I stopped? Anyway, so I went up to the map and I found out that I was in the rest area in North Carolina. At least I was happy that I was still on train, but I can't remember how I got there for the life of me. But anyway, that was another instance in the Marine Corps missing time. But then, okay, out of the Marine Corps and stuff, and what happened this night is what caused me to start investigating and start thinking that maybe something's not right. And I got more evidence. Stay with. This story's not even close to over yet. But I woke up one night. I was single and stuff. I lived by myself. And I saw 4 short, little gray-green dudes, big heads, big eyes, standing next to my bed. And I remember being terrified and flying against the back wall of my bedroom because my bed rested on the back wall. And then I remember waking up in the morning. But I remember seeing these 4 individuals. And the terror, I felt that same terror again. Okay, it's the only 2 times in my life I've ever felt terror. I mean, I don't care how scary your worst nightmare is as a kid. This is worse terror than that. So then I started checking into the alien abduction thing because, you know, I'm a person who likes to find out what the hell is going on. You know, and even if it's something that I don't understand or is impossible, I'm going to look at all avenues of it. Even the part where I think I could be going crazy, okay? And like I say, it was always the terror that I felt, okay? And then, so I started checking into it. What was going on here? You experience something and you check out what the phenomenon is. Because, you know, I want to see, let's see, we've been going for almost 18 minutes. So if I get cut off in the next 7 minutes, it's because YouTube chopped this video, okay? But I haven't gotten to the good part yet. Anyway, because it's been going on my whole life. All right. So anyway, so I start checking into this because I'm a rational man. Okay, if I'm going nuts, I want to find out if I'm going nuts, I'm going to go get help. But, you know, when everything's so vivid, and what was so vivid, okay? Who's terrified of their fantasies or I don't want to say fantasies, but you know what I'm saying? Driving down a road and you're not even thinking about aliens, and you think of aliens staring at you through the ditch. When you wake up and all of a sudden, I never thought of it then. Crazy times. Okay, so I started checking into it. And the more I started checking into it, I realized, you know, these people that had these abductions all want to know what happened. Now, me personally, and I know you're not supposed to run from nothing, okay? The aliens are about to corner in and add a 6-pack of Bud Light. I don't know. I live by myself. I don't know if this bastard's take me again. You know, if I'm conscious, I'm doing a Travis Walton. I'm taking their damn spaceship, and I'm getting off this planet. I'm not messing around no more. I'm serious about that. Anyway, so the more I found out about it is the more I found out I don't want to really know. If it terrifies me that much and I'm allowed to forget or maybe suppress that, you know, I'm okay with that. Okay, when the truth comes out, maybe the truth can come out when I can handle it without being terrified. You know, if I got to face my terror, I want to face it face to face. I want to see one of these little bastards and take care of them. Not face it in a memory, You know what I'm saying? I want the memory to be I kicked his ass and I sent his ass packing. I know this all sounds crazy, doesn't it? Right? Where's your evidence? Where's your evidence that you have anything wrong with you or that you may be carrying, I don't know, something in your eyeball or something like that? Where's your evidence? Okay? Now, my wives, my second and third wife, I've been married 3 times, been divorced 3 times. That's the end of that for me. Okay? I remember I got to deal with the aliens. But even my second and my third wife both had situations where they had things happen to them that they couldn't explain either. And I'll go into the third wife's. Hers was really good, but anyway, the second wife had a situation or something happened to her one time when I had left for work, and she thought she was asleep and saw some things and wasn't sure if it was real. And anyway, so I wasn't the only one. Okay. So when I talk about that stuff, they'd be like, because they're thinking to themselves too, am I crazy? Am I crazy? That's the only thing you can come up with sometimes. Am I crazy? Anyway, so through the years, saw weird orbs in the sky at times, and I can't really say I recorded missing times or anything was interrupted or my kids were messed with or nothing like that. Okay, I really can't say nothing about that. But then I moved to Nebraska, and I live just a short ways from where these things shoot out of the ground, that are sent into space into all other countries. I live real close to them sites, okay? And you see a lot of interesting stuff in the sky. That's why I want to have a live stream at night staring out to the west so we can see some of that stuff. Anyway, but I've seen lots of weird stuff. Howdy, old timer. Hey, how's it going? Hey, Bailey. I appreciate the old timer. See, this is what happens when you don't get no boys and all you have is girls. I blame my gray hair on my girls all the time. Guess I should blame it on their boyfriends, huh? Anyway, so where were we at? So one night, right, out here, this was the night with my third wife, right? And my kids came in and they were talking about, my daughter and her husband came in talking about how they had heard this sound in town, and something really weird. They couldn't describe it, but it was loud. Anyway, it was a strange morning, I'll just say that. And then all of a sudden, Breezy lights up and is like, oh my God, I remember that. She said it was right over the house. And I'm sitting there looking at her, because I was in bed sleeping right next to her. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, oh, last night when we were all asleep, I woke up because she said it sounded like there were choppers over the house. And then she said, when she looked out the window, because our window faced south, she saw this. She said it was invisible, but you could tell it was there and had lights. Okay, that's how she described it. And she described where it was over the yard light in the house, the yard light in the yard, which was just, 50 feet from our bedroom window. And to me, it must have been about 50 feet, right? And then she said she watched it for a while, and it just floated away off to the south. And I'm laying asleep right next to her. Right? She didn't wake me up. Are you seriously? She didn't wake me up. She goes, I didn't think about it. And so it went away, and I laid down and went to sleep and didn't think about it till Samantha said something about the sound. Okay, and then Misha was in her bedroom, and her and I never woke up to nothing. But anyway, they're going to town, right? And they're in the grocery store and they're asking people if they heard that sound. My one daughter is, right? And people, I don't know. Nobody else heard it. But the thing is with them is they don't, after hearing the sound, they don't remember anything until they woke up in the morning. And things in the house were it's just like, I don't know. It was really weird. All I know is they convinced that they heard something. And anyway, we have a live stream tonight, and one night where the weather's decent. We look out to the west, we'll see. But anyway, here's my proof that something isn't right. Okay, I may have a little bit of a object in me. Anyway, that would be in 2019. I had to go to the eye doctor because I just need to go to the eye doctor. I was having problems. For some reason, I could see better in real light instead of fake artificial light, like a light bulb. So I went to the eye doctor and get in there. She dilates my pupils and stuff, and she's examining my right eye. And she goes, "Boy, that lens is really scratched." And I said, "Yeah, wait till you see the next eye." And she goes, "Yeah, you're right. That one's really scratched, and there's a piece of metal in that eye, and it's healed over. That's strange." And, more proof in my book that I don't want to know any more than I already know. So, is it true? I don't know. YouTube hasn't cut me off, so it must be better this time. I haven't seen Google's moderators in here, so things must be going okay. But are you a victim? Do you have something strange that happened in your life that you can't explain? Maybe something you saw as a kid that, as what you thought as when you was a kid isn't really what was possible, or strange occurrence of feeling terror when you see little green gray dudes. That was an interesting experience. So anyway, they can say I might have saw something that was out of this world, or some people that were out of this world. So, but like you look at the Travis Walton story. I mean, how do you explain that away? How can you possibly explain that story away? And all you got to do is prove is one right. You can have 1,000 hoaxes, but if you can prove one being right, that makes it fact that it's happening. And if you need more proof than that, I guess Travis Walton's like Patterson footage, right? Experienced through the whole thing and stuff, but you're the only one that you can, believes you. Anyway, he had a bunch of witnesses and stuff, in the Travis Walton thing. That was crazy. That was crazy. I bet you he'll never walk up on a UFO again, huh? Anyway, I would. Whatever. Got to live a little excitement in your life. Anyway, well, YouTube let me get this off. But one night, like I say, we'll be able to do a live stream out in the Grove, face the west, and we'll see what's in the sky one night. Because there seems to be something always interesting over there. Something strange, lights coming out of the sky, like signaling to the ground, and the ground signaling back and stuff. That's probably well, I don't know why you should be able to see it from miles away, but it's crazy. It's crazy. I've seen some weird stuff. I've heard some weird stuff. I remember sitting in my chair one afternoon, and all of a sudden I heard this low hum I could hear almost out of a bass speaker, right? And I'm out in the farm in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska. And I go outside, and you can't tell what direction it's coming from because it's coming from every direction. It's just like it's the whole air, no matter what direction, is emitting this sound, this low hum. It was weird. I never saw anything. But that was quite, and I don't remember how long it lasted. It was a couple minutes, but it was something of the more weird things. And then, like I say, we have the silos. to the west. And you see a lot of weird stuff where you see like 80 Apache helicopters in formation. I never even saw that when I was in the service. So crazy time. But anyway, one day we'll get a video out there once Mother Nature gets cooperative. But we need the rain. I'll have a nice green lawn next weekend. Be able to get out there on my lawnmower and have some fun. But anyway, that's my alien abduction story. Anybody else has one? That's why I can't wait. This is the Hidden Truths channel. And I want to cover everything instead of just politics. You know, we all have our little quirks and what we believe in that, you know, make us a little weird or we're forced to believe in because we experience some weird stuff. And we check out what else is out there. But anyway, thought I'd get a few more viewers tonight. My one I did the other night really took off like a 100 times more views than I normally get. It was crazy. Hope to get that one again. I like the entertainment. That's the thing about YouTube. You can take this as a guy just flapping his jaw as entertainment. I got a good laugh out of it. Whatever, I don't care as long as you got something out of it. If you want to tell me I'm crazy, I'm cool with that because I'd rather be crazy than it being the truth. That's one of these times where being crazy seems to be the better side of it. So anyway, that's whatever. Life is life. We'll find out in the end, right? All I know is I know we're not alone, but why would they come and mess with me? I'm just a little nobody. That'd be my thing. But I do remember playing with that silver metal. That was just the coolest thing ever. That was like water almost, but it was metal. It's weird as heck. It stuck together. I remember playing with that. Never, always being upset because I couldn't find my favorite toy. Not knowing that there's no way it could have existed. But, and then just a lot of other things and stuff. So, you know, I don't mind living out here by myself. You know, whatever happens, happens. Got to get it over with. Got to face your fears, right? So maybe one time that'll come, and I'll be broadcasting from up on the moon or something. I guess that's one way I'll get to the moon. That's always been a goal for me, is get to the moon. But we'll see. You know, that'd be one way to do it. Have a great time, be able to come back home. Got to smile about life no matter how it's happening, because there's no serious stuff to take on. So, but anyway, if you guys had any stories about abductions, you know, share them. You know, I hear a lot of stuff out there. Yeah, I ain't got all the edited great background stuff and makes the story more exciting because I just got my story. Maybe one day I'll be able to have all that, but I don't know. Anyway, I appreciate everybody being here tonight. Like and subscribe if you would. Give support to the channel. Let's get the truth out there no matter what it's about. You know, we can learn a lot more from hearing the truth than we can hear stuff that isn't the truth, you know. Expanding the knowledge in the right way is the best way. But anyway, that's my little story about my weirdness. Haven't had any situations like that in a while, so maybe they don't deal with teenagers and old people, huh? I guess you outgrow everything, even the aliens one day. That's okay. I'll live in peace. We just got to get through this wartime footing that we're trying to create, and I can sit there and ride my horses and have a good old time. But anyway, next Saturday night on my Saturday night special, I think I'm going to do, I'm not going to say. I was going to say my Paul Harvey, If I Were the Devil dissertation, but I may do something different, little more, you know, like Bigfoot or interested in that too. I like stuff that human beings tried to explain away just by saying, we don't believe in it. That's the type of stuff interests me. So I got a lot of interesting stuff to look at, So Bigfoot and UFOs are the big thing. I find it very interesting because I know human beings don't know everything there is to know. Okay. We definitely don't know how the hell to get along. So there must be a lot out there that we don't know about, or they're trying to hide the truth. Okay. All I know is Bigfoot's got his act together. If he's smart enough to be able to social distance the best out of all there is, right? Bigfoot, the king of social distancing. Soon I shall live like that myself. Transmitting, using my little bit of technology I have to be out on YouTube with some great videos of the outdoors and stuff like that. Maybe someplace with trees instead of all the sand dunes and stuff. But anyway, I do appreciate everybody being here for my Saturday night special. And we'll see what I'm going to talk about next week. But I don't think I'm going to give my Paul Harvey dissertation. That's a couple hours. I'm going to have a long weekend. And, it might be a little dry for some people, but I like it. It shows where the world's been and where the world's going. So, and the people that had the foresight to see it at the time when things could have been changed, but they weren't. They were allowed to progress into what we got now. Something we're all going to have to live with. I always talk about the Israeli-Hamas deal. Yeah, that was because of 1947. Not because of 2000. Was that 2023 that happened? Yeah, 2022. When was that? I don't remember anymore if it was 1 year or 2 years ago. We've been at war forever. I can't even remember when stuff starts anymore. Let's go back to 1947. That's why we're having this crap. Because a bunch of people got together who was super smart and were going to make the world safer, decided to have the United Nations involved in the Middle East and telling people how they were going to live. So welcome to the world we got now. Maybe if we'll mind our business and, stay on our side of the fence, things would be cool. But anyway, that's all I got for now. Everybody have a great night. This time, I'm out.